Beethoven composed his greatest symphony. While completely deaf, he couldn't hear a single note but created music that changed the world forever. Before we continue, would you mind liking this video and subscribing to our channel? Now let's discover how losing his hearing made Beethoven an even greater genius. Ludwig van Beethoven began losing his hearing in his late 20s, the worst possible tragedy for a composer. By age 44, he was completely deaf and couldn't hear anything at all. But here's the incredible part. Beethoven composed his most famous and revolutionary works after going deaf, including his legendary Ninth Symphony, considered one of the greatest musical achievements in human history. Beethoven's deafness started gradually, with ringing in his ears, and difficulty hearing high-pitched sounds. He desperately tried every medical treatment available, but nothing worked. The psychological torment was unbearable. Beethoven wrote a letter called the Heiligenstadt Testament, where he admitted seriously considering suicide because losing his hearing meant losing his entire identity as a musician. But instead of giving up, Beethoven developed extraordinary techniques to continue composing. He sawed the legs off his piano and placed it on the floor, then laid on the ground feeling the vibrations through the floorboards. He composed entirely in his mind, using his perfect memory of how instruments sounded. He could hear the music internally with such precision that he created complex symphonies without hearing a single note. The most amazing moment came at the premiere of his Ninth Symphony in 1824. Beethoven insisted on conducting despite being completely deaf. He stood on stage waving his arms, but the real conductor stood behind him actually leading the orchestra. When the symphony ended, the audience erupted in thunderous applause, but Beethoven couldn't hear it, and kept conducting because he didn't know the piece had finished. One of the musicians had to physically turn Beethoven around to face the audience so he could see them cheering, crying, and throwing their hats in celebration. Only then did he realize his triumph. The Ninth Symphony's final movement, Ode to Joy, has become one of the most recognized melodies ever written. Beethoven created it without hearing a single note of his own masterpiece. Modern musicians studying Beethoven's deaf period compositions find them more emotionally powerful and innovative than his earlier hearing works. Losing his hearing somehow freed his creativity. Beethoven's deafness forced him to compose from pure imagination rather than external sound. This made his later works more abstract, emotional, and revolutionary than anything created before. He died in 1827 at age 56, having spent the last 13 years of his life in complete silence. But those silent years produced music that has moved billions of people for nearly 200 years. The ultimate irony? The man who couldn't hear created sounds that defined what music could be. His disability became the source of his greatest genius. That's your musical genius knowledge bomb. If Beethoven's triumph over deafness inspires you, smash that like button. Subscribe to 3 Min Knowledge for more stories of people who turn tragedy into greatness.